Hello everyone, and welcome once again to the Temple Institute Parsha class. My name is Gedalia Meyer, and I'm podcasting from Ma'ale Adumim in Israel. We tend to take a lot of things in life for granted. It's an almost reflexive thing to do. We have all kinds of things at our fingertips, and we just assume that they are ours, and that's the way things should be. We also tend to assume that those things will be ours forever. Why shouldn't they? If they are ours right now, who has any right to take them away from us? We take our lives for granted. We take our minds for granted. We take our air, our planet, and our right to be here for granted. Whatever blessings we have in life, we tacitly assume that we deserve. Whatever we lack and truly desire, we tend to see as some sort of great injustice in the grand scheme of things. We have no problem seeing the fault of all this in others, wondering what could possibly possess them of such a presumptuous take on reality. But when it comes to looking at ourselves, it's as natural as the sun rising in the east. This is such an ingrained human feeling that it is almost impossible to fight against it. Everybody does it, so why should any person deny themselves this God-given right? How exactly would it benefit them to relinquish such a self-oriented power? Anybody who did this would have to force themselves to undergo all kinds of introspective torture, with the only definite result being the inevitable feeling of feeling bad. Hence, we have this all-too-human belief that everything we have is ours because that is the way it is supposed to be. There is no other possible explanation. It is unclear from where we learned to think this way. Perhaps it stems from infancy and childhood, when we had no alternatives to this way of processing our position in the world. We had whatever we had, and we thought nothing of it other than that's the way things were. Perhaps it stems from some evolutionary development in the early days of human beings, in which we had to take on this belief in order to survive. Perhaps those who didn't simply died off in the dog-eat-dog world of survival. Or maybe it was something that is somehow embedded in the human soul, like intelligence or the will or the imagination. We have it, we don't question it, and we make the most of it. But it is a little strange that we so rarely question such an obvious glitch in the natural order of things. There is no law in existence that states that whatever we have was ours by some sort of divine right. Why don't we willingly relinquish everything, since it really isn't ours to begin with? Who gave it all to us in the first place? There are times in life when we do indeed pierce through the clouds and manage to gain some sense of awareness of the true state of things. It may come after the death of a loved one or a close brush with disaster. It may be a simple and uncalled for revelation while waiting for something or while doing nothing in particular. These bursts of superconsciousness are like breaths of fresh air on a smoggy day. They are like waking up after a long, hazy dream to clarity and light. How are these moments to be sustained? How do we prevent ourselves from falling back into the sleep of selfishness? This week's Parsha is called Shoftim. This is an easily translated word which means judges. It comes up in one form or another many times in the Bible. It always has something to do with justice and the law. Not only is there a Parsha with this title, there is even an entire book of the Bible with it. It was a central part of biblical life, and as essential as food and water. In fact, in every society throughout human history, justice has always played a crucial role. It could be said that this was the defining feature of a civilization. Without it, all was uncertain and quickly descended into chaos. No society could function for even a short time without some system of justice. It was as integral to the evolution of human society as the mind was for human life. The entire Parsha revolves around the theme of justice and the legal system. There are details about judges and witnesses. There is a section about appointing a king to rule the land and what the regal responsibilities are. There is something about a high court which had the ultimate authority in judicial matters. The laws of murder are covered, including a reiteration of the idea of a city of refuge for those who killed accidentally. There is even a paragraph about the case of an unsolvable murder, which results in the elders of the nearest city literally washing their hands of the matter to gain some kind of atonement for the fact that justice could not be reached. Through it all, this theme of justice rides. Justice is something we all crave, both in our personal lives and in our society as a whole. It frequently seems to be unattainable, since the inherent unfairness in life always appears to get in the way. No society has ever been able to solve this problem. If any societal problem seems to be intractable, it is this. We all want it, and we are all appalled when we see that it isn't carried out. But it is so expected that we tend to take any aberration of justice for granted. It's just the way things are, and the way things have to be. It is even taken to be a sign of maturity when a person realizes that problems like this can never really be solved, and there is no reason to get all worked up over something that is so out of our hands. The Torah's only response to this universal sense of futility is found at the beginning of the Parsha. Right in the 3rd verse, we find the famous exhortation, "Justice, justice you shall pursue, in order that you live and inherit the land that Hashem your God gives you." It may be impossible to ever find a perfect solution, but the effort must be put out nevertheless. Life and the survival of the nation is dependent on nothing less. But in the middle of all this, there is a section dealing with going to war against some other nation. There are all kinds of details about how to prepare for the battle, with the priests playing a prominent role in getting the army emotionally ready for what's coming. Certain people have to be dismissed from the thick of the battle, since their situation in life warrants not having to face death in the upcoming war. These include people who have recently entered into a new stage in life and haven't yet had time to enjoy the fruits of their efforts. These include one who has not yet consummated an upcoming marriage, or one who hasn't yet dedicated the first fruits of his vineyard, and one who hasn't yet lived in a recently built house. In addition, those who are afraid and unable to face the stress and fear that any war entails are also dismissed. There is no reason to put everybody else at risk because some cannot overcome their fear. Then there is a small section dealing with a small detail of the siege itself. This detail concerns the cutting down of trees for the purpose of the siege. It seems that fruit-bearing trees cannot be cut down, but non-fruit-bearing trees can. The verses read, quote, "When you lay siege to a city and wage war against it a long time to capture it, you must not destroy its trees, wielding an axe against them, because you can eat from them, so you must not cut them down. For a person is a tree of the field to come before you in the siege. But a tree which you know does not bear fruit you can destroy. You shall cut it down and build for the siege against the city with which you are fighting a war of destruction." There's a certain amount of confusion in this section. The first verse says, quote, "You must not destroy its trees." The second verse says that the trees which do not bear fruit can be destroyed. The resolution of this is that the initial prohibition is only referring to fruit-bearing trees. The expression tree of the field means fruit-bearing trees exclusively. Those trees shouldn't be cut down since they are a source for food, while those which don't bear fruit have no such benefits and therefore can be cut down. This is all well and good and fairly clear once the initial confusion is cleared up. The problem is with that apparently innocuous phrase in the middle of all that, quote, "For a person is a tree of the field to come before you in the siege." What does this phrase mean? What is it even doing here? It should be stated at this point that the Hebrew wording in this phrase is extremely vague. It is not the least bit clear how to translate it, let alone what it is adding to the verse. There have been so many interpretations of this phrase, ranging from the mystical to the rational to the environmental, that the phrase itself has always been left ignored for centuries. Many people who are unaware of the nuances of Hebrew and only read the text in translation may be completely oblivious to the problems with the phrase. Some read it as a parenthetical question. Is a man like a tree of the field? And derive what they wish from it. Others reverse the question to ask, is a tree of the field like a man? And do something else. Others read it as a philosophical statement concerning the nature of human beings, comparing them to trees for some profound reason. All of these are not easy fits into the verse, both grammatically and contextually. What does this phrase mean, and what is it doing here? Perhaps the simplest reading is as a parenthetical phrase, but not as a question. It is justifying the prohibition of cutting down fruit trees, even in the course of a siege. The key Hebrew word is ki. which has many possible meanings, thus leading to the many possible interpretations. One of them is like. Thus, the phrase might read, like a man is the tree of the field to come upon you in a siege. What does this mean? Perhaps it very subtly suggests that trees are like people out there, even in the middle of a war. They may not have a mind and have to live their entire lives in one place, but they nevertheless are individual things that have a life and a being. If they bear fruit, they have a unique role to play in the world. That fruit, which carries the seeds of the next generation, also provides food, even for those in the midst of war. It is something that shouldn't be taken for granted. A fruit-bearing tree in its own way is akin to a person. It should not be taken as something in the way or a tool to be used and then discarded. This reading reveals an important message. Even in the thick of battle, something as basic and as utilitarian as a fruit tree cannot be taken for granted. It must be appreciated for what it is, a source of food and sustenance. What justification there may be for cutting it down is overridden by its unique role in our lives. It is no less essential than a person. We may possess these automatic feelings that all of what we have in the world is ours for the taking, because that's the way it is. But we would be wise to rethink this assumption. All those things are not simply props for our precious needs and desires. They each have their own purpose, no less than we think of our own uniquely human purpose. Those trees are like people. They each exist for a reason, and it may have nothing to do with us. Shabbat Shalom.